Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to have Yadvinder with us. And Yadvinder Guleria, more details will be given by Himanshu Rai, Director, IIM Indore. But I'm Bhaskar, and I'm delighted to see such a large gathering waiting to listen to Yadvinder. Before we begin, let me offer my thanks to IIM Indore for making this possible, and to two partners who have helped us a lot. One is radio. Our radio partner is 92.7 Big FM and Money Life magazine, who have helped us popularize this event. Automobiles is something that every Indian looks at, both for driving, for traveling, and as an indicator, a litmus test of how well the economy is doing. That is enough for me to say. The rest will come from the other two esteemed people. Himanshu, please do the honors.
Thank you very much, Bhaskar, and a very good afternoon to all our viewers. I hope you are all staying home, staying safe, and you're taking good care of your health and those of your family members and the people around you. Now, it's such a pleasure and an honor to have Mr. Yadvinder Singh Guleria with us. Now, Yadvinder was elevated to the board of directors at Honda Two-Wheelers India in 2020. He headed the sales and marketing operations at Honda Two-Wheelers India since 2012. Yadvinder now has greater responsibilities with additional charges of customer service, logistics planning and control, premium motorcycle business, and brand and communication, along with sales and marketing. He has led Honda to become the second largest two-wheeler company in the country. His job is to win over the hearts of over 46 million Indian customers of Honda. His suave marketing instinct has actually led to brand Honda winning accolades like most exciting two-wheeler brand equity, 100 most exciting brands 2015, most trusted two-wheeler brand. And he also got recognized as the marketer of the year from IAA Leadership Awards for 4 years in a row. Yes, you heard me right, 4 years in a row. He's also a certified safety riding trainer and chief instructor, sales training by Honda Motor Company, Japan. After his graduation from Punjab Engineering College, he joined Yamaha Motors India and became the company's youngest sales manager. In 1998, joining Hindustan Motors Limited before moving to Honda, where he was a core founding member in 2001. So welcome, Yadvinder. And before Bhaskar and I start bombarding you with questions, let's hear something from you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Himanshu ji, for your kind words. And thank you, Mr. Bhaskar, for inviting me on your show. And this COVID lockdown and post-COVID thing is the most talked about topic, in not only in India, I think it's globally the hot topic. And the global pandemic has truly, I would say in marketing terms, it has stormed the norm, because there have been established norms in the industry across the board. So everything has been stormed, and the catalyst here happened to be COVID-19. And the economic activity for sure is at its rock bottom, and fear and anxiety at its peak.
Yes.
So what will really weigh us down in such kind of scenario, I believe it's not what is happening around us. It's about what we are allowing to get inside us, as an individual, as a corporate, all those things. So the way we evolve depends on our response to this crisis. When we are here on a marketing seminar like this, I think we need to talk more from the brand perspective. And for any progressive brand, in my terms, lockdown is not a knockdown. It's not a time to look down, but look far, because only those brands, as we know, those who see far than others, they more than others, ahead of others, they are having an absolute edge.
Yes.
And life for most of us was running at top speed before the lockdown was announced. Everything was going smooth, everyone was running fast. No doubt, the last few generations really built a lot. But at the same time, I must say, a lot was built in a haste. Many signals was around, whether it was about environment, about the carbon footprints, but I think those things are being ignored and the side effects were minuscule in front of the new heights we all were achieving in name of progress, in name of advancement. The lockdown has basically served as a positivity. And here the positivity is the first, if I break it into two, it is positivity. It's not the POS, it is basically PAUSE. Positivity means activity with a pause. So we all are now confined to the four walls. The way now we are also interacting on a digitally through a webinar. We are still confined in the four walls of our homes. The internet is being used more than ever. And many of us got their license to skill. Not the 007 license, but license to skill, because we all migrated very swiftly to work from home. A lot of hard work was done by the IT department of all the organizations, whether it is, for schools also. I see my kids attending the online classes. In fact, they started study from home before I started working from home. So that is, sort of learning. So in a nutshell, I can say that we all adapted, learned, explored out of our comfort zones. Now, there is a realization now that we can live with minimal and maximize the joy for what we have with us, whatever resources we all have with us. So I was in another webinar and it was asked to me, how do you define COVID? And I simply started thinking about it. Okay, so if I see it as in a form of abbreviation, it is like the first C is connecting, and second is O. O is about opportunities, V is virtually, and I is introspected, and D is discovered. So what do we get of COVID is connecting opportunities, virtually introspected and discovered. The new lingo, WFH, sometimes our kids share with us most of the things we don't understand. And similarly, the new generation is talking about WFH now. And this WFH, now we all know it is work from home. It is gaining acceptability, irrespective of the line, the business, educationists or teachers, everybody, except the COVID warriors who have to be essentially out there, physically in the hospital. Policemen have to be out there. There is no way for them to work from home. That's why they have been defined as essential services. But apart from those essential services, most of us are now very familiar with this lingo of WFH. So let us consider now the two scenarios. One, everybody is talking about lockdown 3, now lockdown 4 is going on. And the next question comes to us, the most often question asked as a spokesperson of the company for Honda, what is going to happen post-COVID? So I would like to say here that COVID is still around. There's nothing called post-COVID as of now. So let us try to divide the scenario like two. First is post-lockdown. Yes, we are talking about post-lockdown, lockdown 2, 3, 4, because with every lockdown, the conditions have been different. The economic activity slowly started coming in. The government at the center has also allowed states to take their own decision based on the crisis and the the seriousness, urgency, and gravity of the pandemic at their respective states. You cannot have one barometer for everyone. So we have two scenarios. One is post-lockdown, and the second one is post-COVID. First is definitely short-term, requiring immediate attention. Once we are out of the lockdown, what are we supposed to do? So one thing is very clear, that there would be an extra flap which is going to be cut. Austerity measures are going to be there around, irrespective of the business. And more of structural changes we are going to see, which will basically cut down on the waste which we discovered during this lockdown. Earlier, we never said it was a waste. It was part of our daily routine, daily operation. Second is the long term. Since we have not established the cure, or there is no vaccine for COVID-19. So that's why I say that it is not post-COVID, but it is a long-term, post-COVID basically is a long-term scenario for all of us. So I also recall reading somewhere about happiness ATM. So this is, one thing I'm really personally convinced that we need to swipe our mind through this happiness ATM in 2020. And once we move on post-lockdown, and a little bit elaboration of what is this happiness ATM. So the first thing is about the A. The first and the foremost thing I would say, accepting the present circumstances, but with objectivity in mind. So we must have a clear purpose that how do we are going to take on this pandemic, and at the current situation, it is all about survival. So first thing is accepting the present circumstances. The next is T. T is taking charge of your situation. If you are thinking somebody will come and help me out, frankly, no. Nobody is going to drop from heaven and, just suddenly appear in front of us, or genie will come out of the lamp and they are going to help us out, because there is no textbook. There was no manual. There was no reference book available for such kind of pandemic. It happens once in 100 years. That's what I have read. And nobody lives around for 100 years to share their wisdom in person. So we need to take charge of the situation, requiring very high, personal level commitment and discipline. For example, the personal hygiene we all are talking about. We are talking about social distancing. So we have to take charge of all those things. Government can only give the guidelines. Finally, the M of ATM is making the best of available resources. So that's where we talked about the austerity measures will come out. And in the lockdown, we already realized we can maximize the joy with the minimum available at home. There was no Amazon working in first 1 or 2 lockdown, no Flipkart working. So we were still getting the essentials only and living it up, seeing many things on the YouTube. The housewife was preparing, the gentleman becomes suddenly the celebrity chef through some of the pictures which they have taken, maybe 90% job done by the wife or the lady at home, but I only clicked that 10% and clicked some picture and put it on the social media. This is what I prepared. So, but everybody was making the best of the resources which were available with them during this period. So summarizing, the year 2020 will go down in the history where success was with those who moved cautiously with an instinct to survive, revive, strive, and finally thrive. So that's how we look at this 2020. And in lockdown 4.0, we basically are witnessing about to, on till 31st of May, it's going to end the lockdown 4.0. But we did witness a kickstart of economic activity beyond the essential commodities. Even in our business, automobile, which was till lockdown 3 was very much restricted. So with a high degree of recalibration, of course, what we are seeing now, post the lockdown 3, when we really started our economic activity. So transformation definitely the buzz was around in every business activity which we are seeing. So along with the product and services, brands are first promising not the quality, not the delivery, but the safety. That's the first thing almost every brand is promoting, whether it is Zomato, Swiggy, or the deliveries happening at our home, at the doorstep. But everybody is first promising on the safety, and this is what in our auto business also, all our dealerships are, assuring the promise that we are not compromising. There is zero tolerance on safety, and that is what is going to get the reassurance of the customer to start visiting the dealerships or the business premises, which are brick and mortar, which we call the physical activity. But now, post lockdown and post the COVID era, we will going to see the physical and digital coming together, making it a physical kind of ecosystem. So no surprise, we are seeing a new way of life in business, in our user behavior who are buying today. Some trends obviously are going to stay forever as new normal, but some may also come back. I think it's too early to read on that these are the established new norms. Certain things may come back, only time is going to tell. For example, digital first is in. Since it was extensively used to connect and avail services during the lockdown period. So most of them, or most of us have now got it like, very comfortable on each and everything to use or utilize the social media. For many also, it was the first time, especially the senior citizen, the first time on experience on digital media, because they are not getting the hard copy of newspaper, so consuming media on digital. But whether they will move on to digital reading in future, or they will still launch for the thud of that newspaper outside their doors on the balconies in Mumbai, that my newspaper has arrived and this is the start of my day. So many safe to fail experiments also done, conducted, and most of us unabashedly shared with our near and dears on the social media, all those safe to fail experiments. I also experimented on my haircut at home, ordered on Amazon, the Philip trimmer. My wife saw it on the YouTube video, did experiments. Some are very short on this side, some are long on this side, but somehow it worked that I didn't need to go to the barber. So such things have really happened and we have all shared. So now with speed and agility, we need to upgrade our digital capabilities, even in the auto business, beyond only our product, but in services. So this is basically for Mr. Himanshu, because it's a take from a classic business school textbook that we can make our choice to survive, to succeed, or to lead. To survive is that we change after the change. We will still survive. And to succeed, we need to change with the change. And finally, to lead, we are the one who should be creating that bigger change. So as a brand, this is the time that we have to make each and every effort of ours to coming closer to the customers in this time of distancing. And for business continuity post-COVID era, that is the long term, we need to recalibrate and craft new way of operating and adapting to the new normal. So we need to take our brand to the next high on our equity, tell our story, but let us remain very authentic, relevant, and differentiated. And then only we are going to touch the hearts and minds of our people and our customer. In this difficult time, not to cut every investment. I think at times that austerity measures also talk about, okay, cut everything. But this is time to invest, to command the respect and loyalty amongst all our stakeholders, our business partners, including our customers. So learning the hard way from COVID lessons, let us move forward, paying our gratitude to the frontline COVID warriors. So I hope and I wish we marketeers make a positive contribution in the next new normal. Thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Himanshu,
Okay.
your baby.
So Yadvinder, those were, not just words which spoke about, say, how the things need to be managed in the future, but those were also words of wisdom and words of motivation, which told our viewers as to how we should be looking at things. And I particularly liked the definition of COVID as an acronym that you gave, where it was all about connecting and about opportunities. Now, by and large, in our country, the two-wheeler numbers have outnumbered the four-wheelers, and by far. Do you think that this trend is going to continue? Is this gap going to become larger, or is it going to become smaller now post-COVID?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Himanshu, for your question. Very rightly mentioned, there is a large gap between the two-wheeler volumes and the four-wheeler volumes. Having said that, the penetration level in both the segments is relatively much smaller compared to even the other Asian countries and even the emerging economies. So there's a large potential for both these segments to grow. However, seeing from the price point of view and the first step into the mobility, I would say, whether it is the automatic kind of mobility and moving away from the public transport, and you own your personal commuting mode. So two-wheeler have much, much larger potential still to grow. And we were already 20 million plus volume, annual volume so far. Because of last year, there was a downfall in the industry consecutively for 12 months in a row. So we had an 18% degrowth in the industry. However, it has a big potential to come back to that 20 million, being the largest two-wheeler gasoline, operated two-wheeler market in the world. So it will continue to grow. with even the motorization, even the road infrastructure improving in the rural area, there will be more and more need of the personal conveyance. But yet, at the same time, two-wheeler is not only mobility from point A to point B. It is still in India, by and large, a statement that you have arrived. Mostly we say it is for four-wheelers, but once we go to the bottom of the pyramid, that is also a statement that we have arrived. One real trend which we are observing now, there is a propensity of the new buyers in this lockdown limited period economic activity which has happened. There are new buyers who are having a high propensity of choosing a two-wheeler for their daily commuting by avoiding this public transport infrastructure, because there is a high level of awareness about not using the public transport infrastructure because of the hygiene and social distancing coming in. So this is one new segment which has arrived, and we are closely watching how far it is going to be sustaining as a trend in the long term. But in short term, we have already identified this.
Okay. Now, just related to this, since I was comparing the four-wheeler market with the two-wheeler market, another thing that we have observed is that when it came to four-wheelers, the foreign-made four-wheelers command a great share of the market. Whereas that is not the case in the two-wheeler case, in the sense that domestic companies are doing very, very well. Bajaj, Hero, TVS, Honda. What made the two-wheeler sector stay with the domestic firms?
Let's go back to a bit of history here. We had a very close economy when the production numbers were also capped by the government. They were a limited production which was allowed up to 80s and all. When the economic activity and the collaboration were opened for in our country was the year around 1980s, late 70s and early 80s, when even the Maruti came in, other joint ventures started happening. And one of the most successful joint venture in the history of automobile industry for two-wheelers had been the Honda and with Hero, as early as 82, 83. And the first four-stroke motorcycle became, an overnight hit and still continues. So this is the history that once you go back and see those, today when we see them as domestic makers, they had always foreign partners, technology partners to begin with. So, and they have been long partnership for years. Even the Hero and with Honda continued for almost 28 years. So there is a long history to that. Having said that, the way the international brands also, as far as I can talk about Honda, probably 10 years back, we were only, a single low digit or a little higher double digit number in terms of market share, 2010, 2011. Now in 10 years, now we are only at 27% market share. So more than double the market share in one decade. So I would say Indian market is still a little different in terms of the acceptance in the two-wheeler market compared to the automobile, because one thing you very clearly mentioned, the high level of technology which is required in case of four-wheelers compared to the buyers in two-wheeler, then price points of two-wheelers, price point of four-wheelers, you can afford to give much better technology because buyers are more aware and they want to lap up on the latest technology. So customer demography is totally different. But once you talk about within two-wheelers, there is clear segment. The moment you go beyond the particular engine displacement, there is no domestic maker out there, right? So we sell 1800cc Goldwing, right? So you can imagine at 3.5 million, and it is booked in advance and people buy. So we sell right from 110cc to a 1800cc legacy model, which is a global hit, having air conditioned and remote opening of the luggage box and all those things, heated seat, heated your grabs. So it's a totally different technology. And with the airbag, and Honda was the first company to bring in an airbag on a two-wheeler, right? So that's it.
Very interesting. Now, before I hand it over to Bhaskar, there's a related question, because a little while back you said that we will be, not just we, as in not just the industry or not just people in general, but people around the world are going to go for austerity measures. So we are not talking only about industry cutting the wasteful expenditure, but people, even as individuals, may perhaps start cutting wasteful expenditure. And therefore, will this not automatically lead to a shrinkage of demand? Doesn't this idea of being austere militate with your idea of selling more? Or for that matter, adding the luxury, let's say, extras to a two-wheeler?
First and the foremost is that within the industry also there are segments and sub-segments. Once we talk about the passionate, the enthusiast, the adrenaline rush guys, they are the one, their major statement is that I have arrived, that I will go and buy a Goldwing. Even if I have a Porsche or I have a Audi or I have a CRV, the top end CRV at my home. But still on the weekend, I would like to at least start my bike and let my neighbor hear the vroom of that exhaust.
Yes.
So such customers, irrespective of whether there is COVID around or not, they will go around. I think there was on the social media that a particular guy in south of India bought a Ferrari or some sports car. Even in the lockdown, he brought it around and roamed, and then cops finally came and caught up with him. Right? So, this is one segment. But yes, having said that, there is another thing which has happened in the two-wheeler industry, that from 2017 till 2020, there are a couple of things which have happened. One is about the new norms, homologation norms regarding the BS6, from BS4 to BS6, no BS5 in between, so carburetor to fuel injection. Second was the additional safety norms in terms of the ABS brakes and the CBS brakes. And before that, there was an insurance premium hike in September of 2018, on 1st of September, which has increased the price point of a two-wheeler. Let's say if I was one of the customer to buy a two-wheeler on 31st of August 2018 and I have to buy it today, I have to pay almost 25% more than what I was supposed to pay on 31st of August.
Wow.
So this price point has already slowed down the demand. So, but the fundamental attributes of the low penetration in India regarding two-wheeler still there. And at the same time, there are the green shoots like more motorable road getting into the rural India will increase the acceptability, and new wave of more working women coming into the society in terms of health workers or in the education department. So they would like to have their own personal mobility rather than depending on the public transport infrastructure, which is, unfortunately, I have to say this, is still not women friendly. So they would like to still go. And here the automatic scooters is the right choice because it is a unisex product, automatic, no gear to change. And this will also get more acceptability. So I believe for the short term, definitely because of the whole ecosystem, as a two-wheeler industry, we are not alone. We are dependent on a lot of many other things, the entire ecosystem. So if the economic activity is down, definitely demand is going to be down. Whether austerity measures will also include the two-wheelers, one, there is a natural slowdown already there. But in the long term, there could be some discretionary buying that I have to change based on my budget, my mode of purchase. Instead of cash, I go for finance. In finance, I go for down payment, low down payment rather than the interest. Or I go for rather than 150cc, I go for 125cc, or in 125, go for 110cc. Such kind of changes may be there to offer all of us to see.
Bhaskar?
Okay. Yadvinder, we've got lots of questions in the audience. Yeah. And as always, the demand for answers is greater than the time allocation. So let me try pushing all the questions together and put them into compartments. Most of the questions are about employment. About what are the employment opportunities? Are you slashing jobs? Now, when you're talking about jobs, you've got two kinds of jobs. One is on the factory floor. They say, oh, three kinds of jobs. The second is the dealers and the marketing and the sales. And the third is the service sectors. Now, all the three, how do you see the market spanning out on the job front? And then we'll come to the next question, which is technology.
Okay. All right. So you asked me a most difficult question, which obviously should have been asked for the government at the center. we are basically, yes, one of the biggest employer in terms of, because it is manpower infested kind of industry, because of the whole supply chain, the vendor, the supplier, the transporters, and service centers and showroom. Obviously, like for us, we have close to 6,200 plus 6200 plus network in the entire country to take care of the product and services of brand Honda. So obviously they employ good number of manpower, and now the demand being less, there will be some austerity measures in place. However strong and rigid maybe we are there in saying that we are not human being, we are being human, but there is an economic factor also which are out of our control, and those things may happen. I would not deny that thing happening. At the same time, the figures are already out that almost employment as high as 24% of unemployment reached to that kind of level, which is not there last 40 years in this country. Yeah. So in 4 decades, we are seeing. But as far as if I have to talk about our company so far, there has not been a layout, except there will be some contractual staff which comes in based on the line capacity and the production capacity on the short-term basis kind of manpower. And since now the demand would be lower, so the requirement of such contractual labor is going to be there. But as far as the permanent employees are concerned, there has not been any layout. The salary has been paid for March, for April, due for May, and there has not been cut in any salary. When they come to our network, so far we have the similar information that they have been able to pay to their staff, and at some places, they are discussing in detail with their staff. They are understanding of the communication, right communication with your staff, and taking them on board as business partners is very important at this stage. Everybody understands the situation outside. So what we hear, there are dealers who are having different ways of handling this situation in terms of what kind of staff to be supported initially based on their economic background, the situation at home, number of dependables at home. Like this, the support is going to be different from dealership to dealership. That's what we are observing as of now. As you mentioned, how much of dealerships are opened earlier, we said they are open, they are not working to their full potential. So that is also one thing, that they are calling their staff in shifts. Second is for the social distancing at the workplace itself. You cannot have the same premises and have the equal number of people coming in. So they are fixing up the shifts and getting everybody engaged so far. And how far it has been cut or will be cut is difficult to say today at this stage.
What about the service centers?
Service sectors,
fortunately, repairs of vehicles.
Yeah. Fortunately for service sector, we found that once we are comparing sales versus service activity at our network, one was from the government side. They allowed the service sector to operate first.
Wow.
Because for the lockdown period, there were many people in the essential services using their vehicle on daily basis, 4-wheeler or 2-wheeler, but it was not being serviced for more than 2 months. So they allowed first those service activity to start, and that gave us the first mover advantage at our dealership operation. And we are already touching more than 60,000 2-wheeler services every day at our network.
60,000 every day?
Every day, more than 60,000 every day. Still, it is, much lower than our daily potential. I'm not going to say here what is my daily potential. But yes, it is 60,000 gives a lot of confidence back to our dealership because the clock has started rolling, invoices being generated, parts are being consumed. So there is a momentum, and it has brought a lot of positivity.
You have also, many people have started going back to authorized service centers because of the fear of contamination at the unorganized service center. Is that happening in your case also?
Yes, Mr. Bhaskar, I think you are at my pulse, I would say, in reading, what kind of trends may be emerging. Once we saw in sales side, there are new customers coming in because of this awareness. At the same time, we are also trying to study what are the percentage of unique customers coming in. How we define in auto industry, unique customer who have never got services from our authorized network in last 8 to 10 months. And now they started coming in. And for the obvious reason which you just pointed out, they have less confidence on the hygiene and the other safety aspects being done in letter and spirit by the private workshops outside. So they started coming in because they are reassured in terms of that while my vehicle is being serviced, the hazard or risk to my health of catching up the virus is mitigated by visiting an authorized workshop. So this is the new norm, maybe, which is developing.
So it means your profits on the sale of accessories is going up.
At this stage, I will not say accessories because it is the maintenance of the vehicle. It's the maintenance of the vehicle. But parts consumption will definitely go high.
Go up. Okay. The second question in the labor part is, what about your truck operators? Are you getting your truck operators?
On account of our logistics partners, once we see the financial packages which kept on coming every day at 4 p.m., we were hoping that at least 4 p.m. and the fourth package may have something for the logistics partners as well. So far, there has not been much talked about in this financial package for the most important lifeline of the industry, because they did a good job as well as the movement of essential commodities are concerned during the lockdown period. In auto and other consumer durable, they were not moving. But since most of them have to pay a huge EMI, they do not own the trucks. It is all hypothecated to the banks. And it's only the moratorium which has been announced. Still, the EMIs have to be paid. The interests have to be paid. So we hope they are already, as a transporters community, they are already approaching. They have given their representation to the ministry. We hope something may be announced for that. And we are also inside considering how we can support our transport partners in this difficult time, because many of the trucks were stuck on the road for almost 2 months, including their drivers and cleaners, no place to eat out because the roadside dhabas are also closed. They really had this tough time on the roads.
So just on that account, Yadvinder, if you had a wish list for your two-wheeler industry from the government, what is it that you expect from the government?
When we go to the government, they will always quote the example of a very popular advertisement, "Ye dil mange more." So, but I will touch only the fundamentals because as a industry body, Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers have also represented to the Ministry of Heavy Industry, which is the industry to which automobile industry belongs to. And we submitted the list of top 3-4 priorities. But the first thing is about the demand generation. So far, we see in the financial package, the survival was the main thing, but generation of the demand, such things have not really happened. So what to do in terms of the interest, because after a long time in the history, we see the repo rate and reverse repo rate, which used to be having a difference of 25 BPS, has become almost 65 BPS. So there is a big opportunity for the bankers to lend now in the market, but their lending is still very, very tight. Instead of you and me becoming taking austerity measures, we talked about the bankers whose main raw material is money, and they have taken this austerity measure of not extending so easily on the loan. Another new blockage which has come is regarding those who have wished or they have gone ahead with the moratorium, acceptance of moratorium facility. They have become the negative areas for the bankers. So even because of some condition, I have opted for moratorium on my existing loan and I want to buy a two-wheeler loan, they are not being extended a loan, even if it's a worthy, as per their CRISIL rating or their evaluation. That's one part. So how do we generate more demand? So that is one. Now, some steps regarding the rural and agrarian economy already happened, that farmer can become the entrepreneur now, can go beyond APMC and sell their produce across the states also, but it is a long term. But having said that, in rural, we expect some demand because the harvest has been good. One area we are seeing from the tractor numbers, and we have good water reservoirs and that will be good for our Kharif, definitely sowing of Kharif. And then most important long-time pending thing has been always the GST. As I just shared with you, in last from insurance time to the BS6 time, the vehicle's cost has gone up by almost 25-30% like that. So GST, if we do not know the period by which the government can really extend that kind of support. If GST can be brought to down by 10% and from 28 to 18%, it can generate a demand and the vehicle will still be available at the BS4 prices, because most of the products which have launched in BS6, their price range is 10% to 14%. So it can sort of offset that additional impact on the customer. So GST will definitely revive the demand, and then early introduction of the scrappage policy by way of incentivizing the people who want to discard their old vehicle, want to buy a new vehicle, they get some credit points from, there is some support by the government and the seller. And
the cash for clunkers.
Cash for clunkers, which came in US, became then as a case study for other countries as well. This may have some demand coming in. So these are the 2 or 3 points what we have to say.
Just 2 more questions that the audience and many people have asked the same question. There might be a technological shift in your vehicle business from the old fuel-based vehicles to electronic vehicles. Your comments on the shift of technology and how popular are electronic vehicles going to be in your business? Point 1. The second question, where there can be the large chunk of them, is finance. Almost all vehicle companies have started a finance swing. Are you going to start your own finance swing?
Yeah, first question about the technology and shift from the gasoline to EV. One thing is, let us not see it from the manufacturer-driven or the policy-driven point of view. Let us see it from the demand point of view. Do the customer really wants EV today? If I make, there has to be a buyer. There have been many manufacturers, almost close to 50 in two-wheeler, what I know. Most of them already closed their shop. And they were existing for last 2 to 3 years, couple of years, including their network. The network has closed. Many players have closed. And the demand, it is not because they are not eco-friendly. If I see from the environment and the carbon footprint point of view, even the gasoline engine, we talk about the mileage. Earlier, we all remember when we were riding in our college a two-wheeler, and every time we were buying or taking from our father or mother, stealing something and then putting the gasoline, because the mileage it used to be 20 or 30 kilometers for a liter. Today, we have come 4 times of that. Even practically on road, at least 3 times of that mileage. It has definitely added to more green footprints now. And mileage is by far one of the best in the world, which other two-wheelers are running. That is one. So second is about the BS4 to BS6. We are probably one of the countries who have not gone in steps. Even Europe did not do it. Euro norms also gone always by step, but we have skipped one step. And all the makers have really strived hard to upgrade the technology from BS4 to BS6, and carburetors are completely out of the market. They are more eco-friendly for sure. And and they will also add on to the greener world and globe initiative which is being taken, and we have also come forward to that. Unfortunately, today whatever technology is available is not able to match the requirements of the customer as apple to apple replacement in terms of the mileage, means your without in single charge how many kilometers you can drive. There are many people who are doing 150 to 200 kilometers on their two-wheelers, especially the daily wagers or the medical representatives and the or collection agents. They have a high usage. So in one charge, how many kilometers we can do? Second, the way we use two-wheeler in India, we are using mainly for the loading also. Large chunk of not only for passion and adrenaline rush. So the moment you put more load, you go up the flyover, the range of an EV goes down. The performance is not able to match today's. And the infrastructure problem. Many places, power cuts are there, how you're going to charge and all. Having said that, this technology is going to change for sure. So like in the mobile case, we say mobile, everybody is using, you know, how big it was, how much was the battery, used to take out, then charge. Now everything is inside, multiple things are coming in, but it's not going to happen overnight. So the moment technology evolves, it is much closer to the performance expectation of the customer, demand start coming in. That's the time it will, you know, sort of get that momentum. But still, the gasoline vehicle will have the majority of the share in terms of the total sales.
Final question, finance.
In case of finance, today, unfortunately, Honda doesn't have any captive finance company.
Precisely.
But we do have many tie-ups with our finance partners. On the lighter side, if everybody has their finance company and we are the only one not having finance company, we become the the most favored boy for those finance companies.
Touche, right. Brilliant. You're the most eligible bachelor.
No, yes.
Okay, I think we're going to go out of time, but Himanshu, over to you. Can you do the honors?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Yadvinder. I mean, it was so nice listening to you, not merely talk about the two-wheeler industry and Honda in particular, but also about how you see life and how you see this entire COVID as an opportunity. And I think just to highlight a very important point that you made, that policymakers are doing a fair bit so far as the supply side is concerned. But I think it's about time that we shifted the focus onto the demand side and also started addressing those issues. And likewise, the second thing, as I said, you also spoke about the time for us to introspect and discover. So while we are introspecting, I think we should also introspect and see as to what we can do for others. And while we are trying to discover others and things outside, we should also try and discover ourselves as to what are the other potentials that we have and how can we really come up to our potentials and how can we really shape our own destiny alongside shaping the world's destiny. So thank you very much, Yadvinder. It was such a pleasure. Bhaskar, again, it was a pleasure being with you and doing this particular India After COVID-19 series. And to all our viewers, thank you very much for being with us. Stay safe and make sure that you're taking care of everyone around you.
And do tell your friends that if you missed this program live, it's available on the YouTube channel, Free Press Journal YouTube channel. You can watch it there.
Absolutely. So
thank you very much.
And goodbye.
It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.